Hello and welcome everyone for another weekly market commentary from StashAway. With us again, our Chief Investment Officer, Freddy Lim.
Hi there.
If you haven't yet, I would like you to all start subscribing to our YouTube channel so that you can be aware of any future updates. We'll be doing a lot more content here over the next 6 months. So if you wanted to keep abreast of that, hit the link down here. Just subscribe and spread the word to all your friends. That would be wonderful for you to do. With that being said, we have a lot of things to cover today. From market events to non-market events. I wanted to start with the next upcoming StashAway Academy events that we have, both in Singapore as well as in Kuala Lumpur. We have one in Singapore on the 12th of February. It's about how to plan for your retirement. So this is where you will learn about CPF strategies. We'll talk a little bit about SRS and how you can make use of that tool from the Singapore government as well. That's on the 12th of February. You can sign up for that on our website, as well as on Eventbrite, Facebook, and wherever else you can find us. In Kuala Lumpur, same day, 12th of February, Freddy will actually be there. He will do the Outlook event 2020. So Freddy, you will be talking a little bit about what we can expect from 2020, kind of what happened in 2019. So you learn a bit more about the investment side of things. That's on the 12th, also at 7 p.m. And you can find out more on our Malaysia website, as well as on Eventbrite, Facebook, and any other channel we are available on. With that being said, Freddy, we have a lot of interesting events coming up. There's a lot of interesting events in the world. I think one of the really headline dominating thing, and it's intensifying, I think, right now with the Chinese New Year coming up, the virus spreading from China. First few cases, Singapore had one case, I think, last week confirmed. Now it's going to the US as well already on the West Coast. Let's first of all talk about what do you make of things like that, right? Is it just headline news, or what should people be worried about? But then let's take a step back. What does it mean for markets as well, right?
Well, in short, it will be sharp and short-lived. I mean, in the case of when you have this sharp knee-jerk reaction, maybe healthcare stocks would probably shoot up momentarily, but then they always, the effect dies within a very short time. Something like this, historically, even back in the time where we had SARS, they rarely affect the markets beyond a couple of days, right? Even in the case of SARS, it's probably had an impact in the localized markets. It was Hong Kong back then, and that effect was less than 2 weeks, right? So this sort of stuff, events, dangerous as they sound. So I do recommend that as persons, we take precautions when we travel, wear a mask, disinfect your hands, but beyond that, it has very little bearings on your financial plans.
So you don't think that, people should be saying, oh, maybe we should wait a few days until I do my next investment, because maybe the market will be, going down a little bit more the more news are coming out?
As we speak, I think the effect has sort of slowed.
Yeah.
Right. Maybe it's also getting confused with the Chinese New Year period. Liquidities are tightening up. Things are slowing down, and when China goes to sleep for the Chinese New Year seasons, liquidity in Asia could be lower than normal. So there's a lot of other factors at play as well. It's not just the corona disease. So there's a lot more. It's not just one thing.
Yeah, exactly. No, well, thanks for that, Freddy, for your input on that. The next thing that's going to be the highlight of the week is probably Davos, because pretty much the entire business elite and leaders of the world congregate onto a little Swiss town in the mountains, right?
Yes.
Trump is going to be there. He's there already. Climate change seems to be the hot topic of the year. It's been building up since 2019, right? But culminating in this. I think a lot of people would like to understand, is there a way to benefit by investing maybe more responsibly, or in companies that are responsible? Does it have no impact on the markets? How does it impact investors in general?
Well, other than Trump's belittling of the issue, the central bankers who was at Davos, they have actually raised this as a very serious concern. They also commonly acknowledge that the current central banking models of assessing the economy lacks this component on climate and how they could incorporate this for future policy decisions making. So it's very encouraging to see progress on this front where people are modeling expected return, volatilities, incorporating factors like this. And it's my personal belief, and we are doing ongoing research as well on the StashAway side, that over time this particular segment would be more and more important for returns and volatilities. So I would say, however, one has to separate your ideology from performance, because you may believe in the water crisis and you invest in a specific water processing sector, but it doesn't mean that you will make returns. So it's not investing is not charity, and performance could really deviate if you are too idealistic about it. So taking an approach of ideology but being mindful of valuations. Are things overbubbled, right? I remember back in the solar power days, in the initial sponsorship of governments, and solar really takes off, investors didn't discriminately invest into the sector, and making the sectors very, very overvalued. And that eventually led to quite a lot of underperformance for these people. So I would say valuation is important, ideology is important. You take a holistic approach to it.
But do you think then, like, companies, I think last week in Germany it was quite big, or in Europe in the news, because they got called out on Siemens, right? This is a project that they already committed to years ago to build this coal mining factory in Australia, right? So because this wasn't the focus. Do you think it will have impact on these big old conglomerates long term, on how they're going to conduct business, or do you think this will go away and kind of they will adapt to these things? I don't know. Is there?
Well, this is part of the market that's we term it ESG, environmental, social, and governance. So there's three factors going on here. In this case, it's environmental. There's also a social aspect where shareholders could revolt and not like the idea. We've been going green, and you have this legacy thing, yes, but now you are building a coal plant, you're stepping backward. So investors may not like it, and that can affect boardroom proxies. And so that has real impacts. And also in the case of ESG, when it comes to emerging markets, when you invest in a company in the same sector, one has better reporting standards, better governance. They do command as high as a 40% premium in their share valuations versus a competitor that's not complying with governance processes. So ESG could actually impact returns. But however, you cannot look at it as a snapshot today. You have to look at it today and going backward. Are we overpaying for ESG? All right. So I would still urge a holistic approach to viewing impact investing, marrying it with valuation. Right.
I think that's exactly. That's the right thing to do. Well, thanks, Freddy. Last but not least, let's really quickly, I know there wasn't too much news because they're still haggling back and forth, but it will also be dominating the headlines the next 2 weeks, because that's probably how long the process is going to take. Impeachment trial, right? I know we covered Trump a lot last year, and we don't want to always go back, but I think that will be interesting for people to hear your opinion on, because it's really going to be dominating headlines, like I said, right? Anything from your side?
I think our stance remains the same. Trump is already impeached in the Senate is Republican dominated, the House is the Democrats, right? So he's already impeached at the House. Now, since the Republicans dominated the Senate, it's very hard to see Trump being convicted for the impeachment. Impeachment is just a statement. Exactly. You can be impeached and still go for re-election and then maybe re-elected. So, and already there are complaints about the Republicans changing procedures of the hearings in the last moment. I think the times are scheduled to be a bit later now. And also the hearing time duration has been shortened. So it goes to show that there's a lot of effort on the other side trying to contain damage. And so for us, the base case is very hard to see Trump being convicted, and we do not expect any headline grabbing surprises there.
Yeah, and I think that this is what the market probably has already priced in. That's why it's also not really reacting to it, because they're probably like, oh, okay, there's nothing really going to happen from the Senate side, right?
I mean, sensational headlines they could be, but they don't generate lasting impact on markets.
Yeah. No, so I think that wraps it up really quickly and nicely, Freddy. All in all, like, I think our messaging never changes, right? We do preach, invest according to your plan, right? Keep that plan in mind every time you do invest, and don't listen to headline grabbing news, right? Because most likely they will not last anyways, right? With that being said, thanks, Freddy. If you have any questions, feedback, we would happily hear from you. So you can comment down below the video and we'll get back to them, especially if you have some questions for Freddy directly, we'll pick them up. And if you want to be featured in that question, we'll do that next week on our next week of market commentary. And if you want to keep abreast of any information, again, hit the subscribe link. That way you can always be updated when we get a new video out. Anyway, if you want to stay up to date with StashAway's news, hit subscribe on one of the links below to our StashAway Instagram page, YouTube, or Facebook channel. Anyways, thank you so much, everyone, and we'll be with you next week. Bye-bye.